Speaking of the Capitol, stocks for several major gun companies have gone up in just the past week following the riot. Now more Americans are looking to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Our Sydney Stallworth checked in with one gun shop in the Valley to see if they've seen any change in sales.
Gun sales have skyrocketed during the pandemic, as they tend to do during uncertain times. After the riot at the Capitol last week, one Florence gun shop and range says sales are up.
It has increased a lot. I honestly try to avoid the conversations with people about why they want a gun. I feel like that's their personal business. So their motivations are their motivations. It's just my job to try to help them accomplish what they're trying to accomplish in a responsible and safe way.
We met with Gene Schreiber with Cypress Creek Indoor Shooting Range in Florence. He tells us gun sales have been up since the breach on the Capitol. We asked if they're seeing more first-time firearm owners.
There's been a lot of first-time buyers in the last several weeks. We do have those conversations. You kind of get a feel for people and trying to help them pick out what they need to pick out, what they're wanting to accomplish, and that does lend itself to them saying I've never had a gun or I've minimal experience with guns, and so that does lead us to conversations about training and how to properly store and carry and those sorts of things.
Stocks for some large firearm companies have shown spikes since the attack on the Capitol. Stock for Smith & Wesson had already risen 12% by the Monday following the riot, but gun purchases have already been up during the pandemic. The National Shooting Sports Foundation says more than 17 million guns were bought last year, and over 5 million Americans bought a gun for the first time.
Sometimes gun sales are driven by what's going on in the world. The year ended with quite a flurry between the pandemic and unrest and the normal Christmas surge. It ended very busy.
Schreiber says this is an opportunity to talk safety with buyers.
We added more classes, so there's more opportunities.
Putting the Valley first, Sydney Stallworth, WZDX News.